am live on YouTube.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Like actually live or just kind of?
I believe I'm actually live. Ha. Would somebody please go over to YouTube and see if they can, see me?
No,
See if they can see me and or hear me. Oh, really? Ava Wood. Seriously?
I'm just that too. I don't.
Hell.
I don't know. I'm trying.
Okay, so let's click edit. Customization. Details. Kiersey Carson. Hi. Kiersey Carson.
Hey, babe, you got it.
Sweet. Okay, you're gonna have to turn that down.
No, I just pulled up so I could tell if we can hear you or not.
Sweet. Heh, I figured that shit out.
Good job, baby.
Right? Okay, so let's move this out over a little bit, and let's move this one. Yeah, that'd be a screwdriver falling. Don't ask me why the screwdriver fell. It just didn't want to be up anymore. It decided to commit suicide. Okay, so I'm liking this, actually. Actually, let's move you guys down just a hair.
Baby, did you hear me, by the way?
No, I did not.
I'm halfway done with Toothless.
Nice. That is too far down. Yes, so I'm live in both, which is what I wanted to do, or at least try to do. And is that not? That is appropriate, actually. I am okay with that. Sweet. Okay, so let's do this. Let's kill that. Let's kill that. Hi, Adam Barris. Hi, Lumi. Give me 1 second, guys. There we go. Aha! And now I have my reading. Let's smooth that. And let's just go ahead and drop everything because,
That's what you need to do.
yeah, because that seemed like the great idea to do. Okay, so yes. Bailey, just, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, it's been a long night, all right? I am probably going to be getting rid of my car and everything.
Like that honestly was a real shock to everybody.
Honestly, it probably should have been. How about you? There we go.
It shouldn't be because of the fact of the car breaking down when they have the kids.
Fair. Okay. Because the car is breaking down over and over again, and I cannot fix it. Hey, I can create polls on YouTube. Oh, I'm going to love this. I am probably going to get addicted to this far too much. I am good at embarrass. Okay, so now that I have this figured out and everything is going great, first off, which one is the audio better on? YouTube or Instagram? Hey, Courtney. By the way, I'm currently live on both Instagram and YouTube, Courtney. So just, boom, suck on that. Anyways, sorry, I am super excited and probably had too much sugar today. Lumi, I do see your name. The audio is better on YouTube. Lumi, it does actually, honestly.
Well, I would be able to tell you, but I can't, turn up my volume right now.
Ooh. Hey, babe, you know what I can actually do on this?
What?
Actually, if I go and do a streaming service, right? I can actually stream my screen, and therefore I can show the pictures in the book. That's kind of what's up. Okay. No, Lumi. I'm telling you, the only thing I see is Lumi. Is the Lumi de Etori? I failed French several times over. Well, hi, Little Bear Star. Okay, you know what, Courtney? For story time, this is a huge deal. All right, I realize you don't usually come into story time, but still. Yeah, no, Lumi. I just see Lumi. So yeah, you're good. Okay, great. So I can actually do this. All right, so one more time. Who needs a recap for Percy Jackson? Bunny Chan signs. Bunny Chan signs? Seriously? Let's see. Let's see if I can click on somebody and bring up their name. No, I cannot. Okay, so we do need a recap. Okay, so Halo, I was gonna go live from YouTube and TikTok tonight to do story time. However, here's the thing.
He's already got banned again.
Yeah, I got banned on my backup because for harassment and bullying, because I am a mean man who does nothing but make people cry. Apparently, yes. That is what we're going with. Anyways, so we had a request for a recap. I'm sorry, Wolf and Raven. Yes. So recap of the first book on Percy Jackson. Has she not read Percy Jackson? What is wrong with her? I know, Halo. I am very, very naughty. My God, I have 2 comment streams to scroll on. This is going to be interesting. Yeah, Wolf and Raven. YouTube shuts off when you close the app. That's how that works. The dragon can fucking try, Halo. It's not going to work.
What?
She said BD spank him on Instagram.
Oh, sorry. I'm on YouTube.
Huh?
I'm on YouTube, so it's kind of hard to tell who's talking.
Okay, yeah.
So I have to ask. I'm sorry.
Oh, God, she's seen the movie. Anyways, okay, so movie sucks compared to the book. Halo is in Instagram, not YouTube. It's going to be very confusing for people. But guess what? I'm here in both places, so I'll answer comments. We got this. Okay, so the very first Percy Jackson book. So he's chilling at school, his sixth school in 6 years, because he keeps on getting kicked out because he's a bad boy. Yeah. When all of a sudden his math teacher turns into this demon with bat wings and tries to kill him, but he slices her in half with a sword. But he's, huh? He is very naughty boy, but he slices her in half with a sword because he's awesome like that. But then he comes out and they've got a new math teacher like that. Nobody remembers the old math teacher, and he's like, "The hell? Like, what happened?" I'm guessing you should be on YouTube. I don't know, Halo. Anyways.
No, she doesn't have to be on
Oh,
YouTube.
Wolf and Raven. I guess you can't, but that is not my problem. Anyways. Hi, Halo. Halo is now on YouTube, babe.
Okay. Hi, Halo. Sorry. You didn't have to.
Anyways. So he comes out. They have a new math teacher. Nobody remembers the old math teacher that he just cut in half. So he's like, "The hell, man." But he keeps on going on. He figures maybe he's crazy. And then he confronts his best friend about it. And his best friend finally spills the beans. He's like, "No, she was real, but she's not human. And you kind of killed her. But, I'll tell you the rest later." Well, he ditches them at the bus station as soon as they get back to New York and goes over to his mom's apartment. And his stepdad's there being a douche. I know, right, Halo? Isn't it so much fun? Anyways. Wolf and Raven, I mean to everybody. You're just now figuring that out. Anyways, his mom says, "Hey, we're going on a trip." Great. We're going on a trip in our favorite rocket ship going through the sky. Little Einsteins. Anyways, well, they go to the beach. They get there, and a huge storm happens. All of a sudden, here comes his buddy Grover knocking on the door, and his mom's like, "What the hell happened?" Like, Grover showing up is the sign of the apocalypse. And he starts telling her all the stuff that happened at school that he didn't tell her, like cutting his teacher in half. And she goes, "Crap. Okay, get in the car. We're getting in the car. We're going. And all of a sudden, they get in the car. They're driving down the road. She's apparently taking him to some summer camp that she didn't want to take him to begin with. And all of a sudden, they get attacked by a guy who's half man and half bull, the Minotaur. Showing up like a badass. Anyways, so Percy Jackson ends up getting Grover across the property line for the camp, kills the Minotaur, but not before the Minotaur makes his mom disappear into a shower of gold dust. Like she's a stripper. I'm getting there. Okay, Daddy's little girl, you just hold your horses, okay? So he thinks his mom's dead, killed the Minotaur, everything is good. Well, apparently, hi, Officer. Apparently, Zeus's Master Bolt went missing because he's forgetful like Baby Dragon. And he thinks that Poseidon stole it. Well, Poseidon turns out to be Percy Jackson's dad. So they're going to send him on a quest to go get the bolt. Yes.
No.
So he goes on a quest with Annabeth and Grover, and first they hit up Medusa's place and end up killing her. Yep. Then they go to St. Louis after that, right?
I believe so.
And they go up to the top of the arch, and they get attacked by Echidna and the Chimera.
Yep, and then they go to the casino after that.
No, after that they go to Colorado.
Oh, yeah, and then
They go to Colorado, they hook up with Ares, and they're like, "Yo, dude, what's up?" And he's like, "I got a job for you. You can't refuse because I'm a god, so, screw you." So they go and they do the job, and he gives them sets them up with a ride out west. Well, it turns out the ride out west is like an animal smugglers, which doesn't sit right with any of them. So when they stop in Las Vegas, they set all the animals free and end up wandering into this casino Now, the casino part was in the movie. So was Medusa, but they left out Colorado and St. Louis. Then,
What happened? Come on. Come on. Get talking.
Jesus Christ. So then, after they get out of the casino, they take a cab to LA and use the pay cards from the casino that drives them all the way to LA. They get to LA, they find this recording studio where the entrance to the underground is. The underworld is. They go to the underworld. They look at Hades and they're like, "Hey, where the hell's the bolt? There is no bolt. You have the bolt. You tell me where the bolt is. Also, tell me where my helm of darkness is. I don't have your helm of darkness. I don't have the bolt. Yes, you do. It's in your backpack." So he looks in the backpack that Ares gave him, and boom, there's a bolt. Well, in the book, they use the pearls to escape the underworld. However, they got the 3 pearls not from the stops that they had to make. They got them from his dad, Poseidon. And they said everything that belongs to the ocean will return to the ocean. You'll be fine, Daddy's little girl. It's fine. Anyways, so they end up going all the way up through the earth and back into the ocean. They come out on the shore, and Ares is waiting there for them. Turns out Ares has the helm of darkness. So Percy challenges Ares to a sword fight, and they start going at each other. Ares blows up a bunch of cop cars, but in the end, he does actually end up beating Ares. So he takes the helm of darkness, takes the bolt, gets on a plane, flies back to the East Coast, then goes to the Empire State Building, drops first gives the helm of darkness to the Furies so they can take him back to Hades, then goes up to Mount Olympus, gives the bolt back to Zeus. Everything's good. Hey, you did a good job. Now get the fuck out of here. Anyways, that was the first book. And in the first book, he decides not to stay at camp, but rather go home for the school year with his mother. Now, in the second book, we pick up with him going to his last day of school. So far, everything's been good. He hasn't been kicked out. He's being a good little boy. And he even made a friend named Tyson. Tyson's a homeless kid who's going to this private school on kind of like a charity thing. We haven't gotten there yet, dear. Hush it. So he goes on the last day of school, and there's these new bullies there that look kind of weird. So they go and they play dodgeball. Well, these bullies turn into giants, wielding brass balls that breathe fire. So he throws them at them. Turns out Tyson can catch those and beat people's asses with no trouble whatsoever. And so they get out of there. Annabeth's waiting for him and says, "Hey, we got to go back to camp." So they get into a cab that's driven by 3 ladies who have one eyeball to share between the 3 of them. And turns out they're about as good of drivers as Baby Dragon is.
Really? I'm a pretty good damn driver, you know what?
Hey, going through all those pictures of you, you know what else I added to the pictures of our family?
What?
The escape.
Fuck you.
Anyways, so
You're a dirty rat bastard.
they get to the camp, and they find the camp being attacked by monsters, which isn't supposed to happen because of Thalia's tree and the border around them. Well, it turns out the border's failing because somebody poisoned the damn tree. So they kill the monsters. Turns out Chiron got fired. They have this new camp director in there who's a total dick. Percy figures out how to save the tree and save the camp by getting Penelope's shroud, which he knows because he has a mental link with Grover, who went off searching for Pan. You all right there, dear?
Yeah.
Really? Are you sure you don't have like my dick in there? Is it still attached? No, it's still attached to me. Okay. She's choking on something, but it's not my dick. Anyways.
Green cloud, motherfucker.
Look, I can honestly say whatever the hell I want because it's Instagram and YouTube and I won't get banned. I'm liking this so far. Anyways.
I'm dying.
Okay, so Halo posted a comment, babe, that I think you need to respond to. I don't know. So I'd say try typing whatever the hell you want in YouTube and see what comes up. Anyways, so they get to the camp. Percy figures out how to save it. He's got this mental link with Grover, and they're gonna go save Grover and save the camp. Well, the new camp director, who, like I said, is a dick. Camera's there, dear, for YouTube and there for Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hi. It's kind of different trying to figure out.
Yeah, here's the thing. The ones that are in YouTube are actually casting it to their TV, so we're like big screen.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, right?
Okay. That's interesting. I don't know
A little bit, right?
I don't know which one to look at.
I usually look in this general direction, and it kind of gets both of them.
I get that.
Like, look right in between them.
I guess I got to kind of lower down for this one.
Anyways, so he's a dick, so he gives the, you want to bring your chair out here or something?
Hell no. Too many cameras. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm in
So, he gives the quest to somebody else, Clarice from Ares' cabin, because, fuck that shit. Well, Hermes decides to tell Percy to go on the quest and gives him a bunch of stuff to do it. Well, they jump on a cruise ship. And on the cruise ship, they find Luke and a bunch of monsters and a casket filled with what's starting to be Kronos' remains. Oh, yeah, because in the first book, Kronos was behind the theft of the bolt, not Hades. And, well, Luke was too, but not for his own personal reasons. Kronos talked him into it. Okay, Halo. Anyways, so Kronos is starting to come back to life, so obviously they need to stop that too. And where we left is they just jumped off the boat. Luke was going to have all three of them killed. Tyson, who turns out is a Cyclops, and being the offspring of Poseidon and a nature spirit, is actually Percy's half-brother. He's still trying to come to terms with that. Annabeth and Percy. He was going to have all three of them killed. Well, they escaped, jumped off the boat, and that's where we're pick up right now. I'm pretty sure that recap made absolutely no fucking sense, but you know what? It was entertaining.
I have a new phone case, and it's really pretty. And then the back of the phone like magnetizes to this, and I was using it. Yeah.
Hold on. Did Halo just call you?
Fuck yes, she did.
Fuck you, Halo.
Anyways, I'm actually in the middle.
Wow, I see what it is. Halo leaves the live to go call Baby Dragon. I am offended, though I'm not surprised. Anyways, so we are going to pick up reading right now, since it's 9 o'clock and I'm just now getting started, with Chapter 10. We hitch a ride with dead Confederates. Flask, I screamed as we hurtled towards the water. What? Annabeth must have thought I'd lost my mind. She was holding onto the boat straps for dear life, her hair flying straight up like a torch.
Well, you can still technically
It is nowhere near the movie. Okay, the movie cut out, let's see, St. Louis, Denver, a fight with Ares. They changed the bad guy from Kronos, the head titan, to Luke because he's a petulant teenager and is pissed off at his dad. Kronos wants to destroy all the gods, retake over the world, and kill half the human, actually all of the human race. Okay, so no, it is not just like the movie. It is not like the movie at all. The movie sucks compared to the book.
I think I might have to get more of these, like in different colors.
And the second movie really sucks compared to the book.
Like, I don't know if you can actually see it or not, but there's three. There's like
Because they didn't go to Hermes, and Hermes was disinterested like he was in the book, was in the movie, because, well, let's face it, even though Nathan Fillion played him, and that man is a god amongst men,
yeah.
it was still bad writing.
But then again, I didn't have to pay for this either, so I'm good. So how have you been doing?
Daddy's little girl, tell your best friend that if she keeps that shit up, I'm gonna beat her. Consensually, of course, but I'll still beat her. Anyways, like I'll gain consent and negotiate and all that, huh? Oh, I was so pissed when I read. The only thing that pissed me off more than the Percy Jackson movies was Legend of the Seeker, which was the series that was based off of the Sword of Truth series. I would say loosely, like they share character names and that's about it. Anyways, moving on.
Do I need to turn her down, baby?
No. I mean, they might be able to hear her.
Okay, here, I'll turn her down. Sorry.
Oh. See, the problem with threatening brats with beating them is it's just an incentive.
No, piss him off. I just thought about it.
Do not throw the laptop.
If you want your conversation being
We do not hurt tech in this live.
The live
Anyways.
or like that, so I was making sure that they couldn't hear you. You can't hear yourself on
So,
YouTube.
what? Annabeth must have thought I'd lost my mind. She was holding onto the boat straps for dear life, her hair flying straight up like a torch.
Okay, hey,
But Tyson understood. He managed to open my duffel bag and take out Hermes' magical flask without losing his grip on it or the boat. Arrows and javelins whistled past us. I grabbed the flask and hoped I was doing the right thing. Hang on. I am hanging on, Annabeth yelled. Tighter. I hooked my feet under the boat's inflatable bench, and as Tyson grabbed Annabeth and me by the backs of our shirts, I gave the flask cap a quarter turn. Instantly, a white sheet of wind jetted out of the flask and propelled us sideways, turning our downward plummet into a 45-degree crash landing. The wind seemed to laugh as it shot from the flask, like it was glad to be free. As we hit the ocean, we bumped once, twice, skipping like a stone. Then we were whizzing along like a speedboat, salt spray in our faces and nothing but sea ahead. I heard a wail of outrage from the ship behind us, but we were already out of weapon range. The Princess Andromeda faded to the size of a white toy boat in the distance, and then it was gone. As we raced over the sea, Annabeth and I tried to send an iris message to Chiron. We figured it was important we let somebody know what Luke was doing, and we didn't know who else to trust. The wind from the flask stirred up a nice sea spray that made a rainbow in the sunlight, perfect for an iris message, but our connection was still poor. When Annabeth threw a gold drachma into the mist and prayed for the rainbow goddess to show us Chiron, his face appeared all right, but there was some kind of weird strobe light flashing in the background and rock music blaring, like he was at a dance club. We told him about sneaking away from camp and Luke and the Princess Andromeda and the golden box for Kronos' remains, but between the noise on his end and the rushing wind and water on our end, I'm not sure how much he heard. Percy, Chiron yelled. You have to watch out for... His voice was drowned out by loud shouting behind him. A bunch of voices whooping it up like Comanche warriors. What? I yelled. Curse my relatives. Chiron ducked as a plate flew over his head and shattered somewhere out of sight. Annabeth, you shouldn't have let Percy leave camp. But if you do get the fleece... Yeah, baby! Somebody behind Chiron yelled. Woohoo! The music got cranked up, subwoofer so loud it made our boat vibrate. Miami, Chiron was yelling. I'll try to keep watch. Our misty screen smashed apart like someone on the other side had thrown a bottle at it and Chiron was gone. An hour later, we spotted land, a long stretch of beach lined with high-rise hotels. The water became crowded with fishing boats and tankers. A Coast Guard cruiser passed on our starboard side, then turned like it wanted a second look. I guess it isn't every day they see a yellow lifeboat with no engine going 100 knots an hour, manned by 3 kids. That's Virginia Beach, Annabeth said as we approached the shoreline. Oh my God, how did the Princess Andromeda travel so far overnight? That's like 530 nautical miles, I said. She stared at me. How did you know that? I'm not sure. Annabeth thought for a moment. Percy, what's our position? 36 degrees, 45 minutes north, 76 degrees, 2 minutes west, I said immediately. Then I shook my head. Well, how did I know that? Because of your dad, Annabeth guessed. When you're at sea, you have perfect bearings. That is so cool. I wasn't sure about that. I didn't want to be a human GPS unit, but before I could say anything, Tyson tapped my shoulder. Other boat is coming. I looked back. The Coast Guard vessel was definitely on our tail now. Its lights were flashing and it was gaining speed. We can't let them catch us, I said. They'll ask too many
I don't
questions.
think any of them had names, though.
Keep going into Chesapeake Bay, Annabeth said. I know a place we can hide. I didn't ask what she meant or how she knew the area so well. I risked loosening the flask cap a little more, and a fresh burst of wind sent us rocketing around the northern tip of Virginia Beach into Chesapeake Bay. The Coast Guard boat fell further and further behind. We didn't slow down until the shores of the bay narrowed on either side, and I realized we'd entered the mouth of a river. I could feel the change from salt water to fresh water. Suddenly, I was tired and frazzled, like I was coming down off a sugar high. I didn't know where I was anymore, or which way to steer the boat. It was a good thing Annabeth was directing me. There, she said, past that sandbar. Yes, you do, Bailey. We veered into a swampy area choked with marsh grass. I beached the lifeboat at the foot of a giant cypress. Vine-covered trees loomed above us. Insects chirped in the woods. The air was muggy and hot, and steam curled off the river. Basically, it wasn't Manhattan, and I didn't like it.
Oh, yeah?
Come on, Annabeth said. It's just down the bank. What is? I asked. Just follow. She grabbed a duffel bag, and we'd better cover the boat. We don't want to draw attention. After burying the lifeboat with branches, Tyson and I followed Annabeth along the shore, our feet sinking in red mud. A snake slithered past my shoe and disappeared into the grass. Not a good place, Tyson said. He swatted the mosquitoes that were forming a buffet queue on his arm. After another few minutes, Annabeth said, Here. All I saw was a patch of brambles. Then Annabeth moved aside a woven circle of branches, like a door, and I realized I was looking into a camouflaged shelter. The inside was big enough for 3, even with Tyson being the third. The walls were woven from plant material, like a Native American hut, but they looked pretty waterproofed. Stacked in the corner was everything you could want for a campout: sleeping bags, blankets, an ice chest, and a kerosene lamp. There were demigod provisions, too. Bronze javelin tips, a quiver full of arrows, an extra sword, and a box of ambrosia. The place smelled musty, like it had been vacant for a long time. A half-blood hideout. I looked at Annabeth and all. You made this place? Dolly and I, she said quietly, and Luke.
Trust me, I know the bathroom situation.
Okay, Bailey. And Sapphire Wolf, like she said, how did your husband cause a panic attack? That shouldn't have bothered me. What?
Go figure.
Apparently, I have 1 minute and 43 seconds remaining on Instagram. Okay. That shouldn't have bothered me. I mean, I knew Thalia and Luke had taken care of Annabeth when she was little. I knew the 3 of them had been runaways together, hiding from monsters, surviving on their own before Grover found them and tried to get them to Half-Blood Hill. But whenever Annabeth talked about the time she'd spent with them, I kind of felt, I don't know, uncomfortable? No, that's not the word. The word was jealous. So, I said, you don't think Luke will look for us here? She shook her head. We made a dozen safe houses like this. I doubt Luke even remembers where they are, or cares. She threw herself down on the blankets and started going through her duffel bag. Her body language made it pretty clear she didn't want to talk. Tyson, I said, would you mind scouting around outside, like look for a wilderness convenience store or something? Convenience store? Yeah, for snacks. Powdered donuts or something. Just don't go too far. Powdered donuts, Tyson said earnestly. I will look for powdered donuts in the wilderness. He headed outside and started calling, Here, donuts! Baby Dragon is talking to Halo on the phone. That is what she is doing. Once he was gone, I sat down across from Annabeth. Hey, I'm sorry, about, seeing Luke.
Yeah, but the thing is that he only uses YouTube for story time. That's it. There you go. Just so we can keep story time and stuff together. So So that's the only thing that he's going to be doing is, moving story time to YouTube, not the whole thing.
It's not your fault. She unsheathed her knife and started cleaning the blade with a rag. You let us go too easily, I said. I hoped I'd been imagining it, but Annabeth nodded. I was thinking the same thing. What we overheard him say about a gamble and they'll take the bait, I think he was talking about us. The fleece is the bait, or Grover? She studied the edge of her knife. I don't know, Percy. Maybe he wants the fleece for himself. Maybe he's hoping we'll do the hard work and then he can steal it from us. I just can't believe he would poison the tree. What did he mean, I asked, that Thalia would have been on his side? He's wrong. You don't sound sure. Annabeth glared at me, and I started to wish I hadn't asked her about this while she was holding a knife. Percy, you know who you remind me of most? Thalia. You guys are so much alike, it's scary. I mean, either you would have been best friends, or you would have strangled each other. Let's go with best friends. Thalia got angry with her dad sometimes. So do you. Would you turn against Olympus because of that? I stared at the quiver of arrows in the corner. No. Okay then, neither would she. Luke's wrong. Annabeth stuck her knife blade in the dirt. I wanted to ask her about the prophecy Luke had mentioned and what it had to do with my 16th birthday. But I figured she wouldn't tell me. Chiron had made it pretty clear that I wasn't allowed to hear it until the gods decided otherwise. So what did Luke mean about Cyclopes? I asked. He said, you of all people. I know what he said. He was talking about the real reason Thalia died. I waited, not sure what to say. Annabeth drew a shaky breath. You can never trust a Cyclops, Percy. 6 years ago, on the night Grover was leading us to Half-Blood Hill, she was interrupted when the door of the hut creaked open. Tyson crawled in. Powdered donuts, he said proudly, holding up a pastry box. Annabeth stared at him. Where did you get that? We're in the middle of the wilderness. There's nothing around for 15 meters, Tyson said. Monster Donut Shop, just over the hill. This is bad, Annabeth muttered. We were crouching behind a tree, staring at the donut shop in the middle of the woods. It looked brand new, with brightly lit windows, a parking area, and a little road leading off into the forest. But there was nothing else around, and no cars parked in the lot. We could see one employee reading a magazine behind the cash register. That was it. On the store's awning, in huge black letters that even I could read, it said Monster Donut. A cartoon ogre was taking a bite out of the O in Monster. The place smelled good, like fresh-baked chocolate donuts. This shouldn't be here, Annabeth whispered. It's wrong. What? I asked. It's a donut shop. Shh. Why are we whispering? Why are we whispering? Tyson went in and bought a dozen. Nothing happened to him. He's a monster.
I have to wait until I get paid again before I can record anymore, and I wanted to do this, but these are the only other 2 tips that I have right now.
Oh, really? Switching around on phones. I see how it is.
Yeah. But I'm making it work.
Oh, come on, Annabeth. Monster Donut doesn't mean monsters. It's a chain. We've got them in New York.
Would you like to see my very first
A chain,
drive-through?
she agreed. And don't you think it's strange that one appeared immediately after you told Tyson to go get donuts? Right here in the middle of the woods? I thought about it. It did seem a little weird, but I mean, donut shops weren't real high on my list of sinister forces. It could be a nest, Annabeth explained.
I'm hoping so.
A nest for what? I asked.
And the thing is
Haven't you ever wondered how franchise stores pop up so fast? She asked. One day there's nothing, and then the next day, boom, there's a new burger place or coffee shop or whatever. First a single store, then 2, then 4. Exact replicas spreading across the country? No, never thought about it. Percy, some of the chains multiply so fast because all their locations are magically linked to the life force of a monster. Some children of Hermes figured out how to do it back in the 1950s. They breed, she froze. What? I demanded. They breed what? No sudden moves. Annabeth said like her life depended on it. Very slowly, turn around. Then I heard it, a scraping noise, like something large dragging its belly through the leaves. I turned and saw a rhino-sized thing move through the shadows of the trees. It was hissing, its front half writhing in all different directions. I couldn't understand what I was seeing at first. Then I realized the thing had multiple necks, at least 7,
Really bored because
each topped with a hissing
we know that
reptilian
I
head.
said that Spider-Man
Its
has
skin
a
was leathery, and under each neck it wore a plastic bib that read, "I'm a monster donut kid." I took out my ballpoint pen, but Annabeth locked eyes with me, a silent warning. Not yet. I understood. A lot of monsters have terrible eyesight. It was possible the Hydra might pass us by, but if I uncapped my sword now, the bronze glow would certainly get its attention. We waited.
So I decided that
I do not know, Kylie Grant. I really don't. Few people have had that problem. I don't know. I may try Twitch. But the thing is I like YouTube being here because story time is going to be here. So, like, all the chapters that I'm reading are being posted to YouTube. I mean, I suppose I could do YouTube and Twitch,
I can actually see you.
but I don't know. We'll see. The Hydra was only a meter or so away. It seemed to be sniffing the ground and the trees like it was hunting for something. Then I noticed that 2 of the heads were ripping apart a piece of yellow canvas, one of our duffel bags. The thing had already been to our campsite. It was following our scent. My heart pounded. I'd seen a stuffed Hydra head trophy at camp before, but that did nothing to prepare me for the real thing. Each head was diamond-shaped, like a rattlesnake's, but the mouths were lined with jagged rows of shark-like teeth. Tyson was trembling. He stepped back and accidentally snapped a twig. Immediately, all 7 heads turned towards us and hissed. "Scatter!" Annabeth yelled. She dived to the right. I rolled to the left. One of the Hydra heads spat an arc of green liquid that shot past my shoulder and splashed against an elm. The trunk smoked and began to disintegrate. The whole tree toppled straight towards Tyson, who still hadn't moved, petrified by the monster that was now right in front of it. "Tyson!" I tackled him with all my might, knocking him aside just as the Hydra lunged, and the tree crashed on top of 2 of its heads. The Hydra stumbled backwards, yanking its heads free and wailing in outrage at the fallen tree. All 7 heads shot acid, and the elm melted into a steaming pool of muck. "Move," I told Tyson. I ran to one side and uncapped Riptide, hoping to draw the monster's attention. It worked. The sight of celestial bronze is hateful to most monsters. As soon as my glowing blade appeared, the Hydra whipped towards it with all its heads hissing and baring its teeth. The good news, Tyson was momentarily out of danger. The bad news, I was about to be melted into a puddle of goo. One of the heads snapped at me experimentally. Without thinking, I swung my sword. "No!" Annabeth yelled. Too late. I sliced the Hydra's head clean off. It rolled away into the grass, leaving a flailing stump which immediately stopped bleeding and began to swell like a balloon.
4 to 5 times before she finally stopped. And then Aries did the same thing. You want to guess how many times?
Naughty Nuts, I'm not doing guests with this live because I'm doing story time.
Once. Oh, see, here's it. I don't know what it is about
Hey.
Aries is my
In a matter of seconds, the wounded neck split into 2 necks, each of which grew a full-size head. Now I was looking at an 8-headed Hydra. "Percy!" Annabeth scolded. "You just opened another monster donut shop somewhere." I dodged a spray of acid. "I'm about to die, and you're worried about that? How do we kill it?" "Fire," Annabeth said. "We have to have fire." As soon as she said that, I remembered the story. The Hydra's head would only stop multiplying if we burned the stumps before they regrew. That's what Heracles had done, anyway, but we had no fire. I backed up towards the river. The Hydra followed. Annabeth moved in on my left and tried to distract one of the heads, paring its teeth with her knife. But another head swung sideways like a club and knocked her into the muck. "No hitting my friends," Tyson charged in, putting himself between the Hydra and Annabeth. As Annabeth got to her feet, Tyson started smashing at the monster heads with his fist, so fast it reminded me of the whack-a-mole game at the arcade. But even Tyson couldn't fend off the Hydra forever. We kept inching backwards, dodging acid splashes and deflecting snapping heads without cutting them off. But I knew we were only postponing our deaths. Eventually, we would make a mistake and the thing would kill us. Then I heard a strange sound, a chug, chug, chug that at first I thought was my heartbeat. It was so powerful it made the riverbank shake. What's that noise? Annabeth shouted, keeping her eyes on the Hydra. Steam engine, Tyson said. What? I ducked as the Hydra spat acid over my head. Then from the river behind us, a familiar female voice shouted, There! Prepare the 32-pounders! I didn't dare look away from the Hydra. But if that was who I thought it was behind us, I figured we now had enemies on two fronts. A gravelly male voice said, They're too close, milady. Damn the heroes, the girl said. Full steam ahead. Aye, milady. Fire at will, Captain. Annabeth understood what was happening a split second before I did. She yelled, Hit the dirt! And we dived for the ground as an earth-shattering boom echoed from the river. There was a flash of light, a column of smoke, and the Hydra exploded right in front of us, showering us with nasty green slime that vaporized as soon as it hit, the way monster guts tend to do. Gross, screamed Annabeth. Steamship, yelled Tyson. I stood coughing from the cloud of gunpowder smoke that was rolling across the banks. Chugging toward us down the river was the strangest ship I'd ever seen. It rode low in the water like a submarine, its deck plated with iron. In the middle was a trapezoid-shaped casemate with slats on each side for cannons. A flag waved from the top, a wild boar and a spear on a blood-red field. Lining the deck were zombies in gray uniforms, dead soldiers with shimmering faces that only partially covered their skulls, like the ghouls I'd seen in the underworld guarding Hades' palace. The ship was an ironclad, a Civil War battle cruiser. I could just make out the name along the prow in moss-covered letters, CSS Birmingham. And standing next to the smoking cannon that had almost killed us, wearing full Greek battle armor, was Clarice. Losers, she sneered. But I suppose I have to rescue you. Come aboard. And that is the end of chapter 10. I have no idea how to fix that, Naughty Knots. A few people had that, and apparently there's a button that you have to hit to get sound. I have no idea why that is. I'm not leaving TikTok. I'm just currently banned on TikTok. I'm actually live on Instagram and YouTube at the same time. But that is the end of Percy Jackson. And then we are going to start reading chapter 20 of Stone of Tears. Now, who needs a recap for that?
Nice.
How is Halo? The traitorous little punk.
Are you really calling Halo traitorous?
Yes.
She was my friend to begin with in the first place.
Technically, she was my friend in the first place because she found my lie first.
Okay, no, because no. She was there for me.
Uh-huh. Okay. So,
All I got left is the wings. Very cool. Little wing.
how's the burning going, dear?
I got left is one wing.
Nice.
And then probably a couple of details where it didn't quite burn through all the way through paper.
I get that, Bailey. Uh-huh. Halo, you can say that all you want, but every time you jump into a live for an extended period of time, you end up leaving and then calling the baby dragon. It's like basically I'm here as a reminder for you to talk to baby dragon. Wait, is that really why I'm here?
Maybe.
Really don't like you right now. Wolf and Raven, even I know that's not true.
What?
Wolf and Raven said Halo left us because she doesn't love us, which is bullshit, and Wolf and Raven knows it. That's just a ploy for guilt.
You can't blame her for trying, though.
Yes, I can. Guilting your friends is not something we do. Now, here's the thing. I can give Halo shit, and Halo knows I'm giving her shit. I don't actually mean it. Okay, so we are going to start on chapter 20. Now, where we've been so far, yeah, Halo, if we didn't give each other shit, people would think we don't like each other anymore.
It's great. I can hear him in the background. And then on the TV.
Is it echoing?
It's a delayed. It's funny.
Do I need to shut the door?
Do you want him to shut the door?
No.
No.
Okay.
It's just funny.
Daddy's little girl, shut up. Anyways, so as far as Wizard's First Rule, Stone of Tears, sorry. I am going to do a recap of both Wizard's First Rule and Stone of Tears so far. Since this is our first Storytime live on both Instagram and YouTube. Just to kind of do a recap of everything. Babe, talk to Halo. So, Wizard's First Rule, the Sword of Truth series. The two main characters are Richard, who is the Seeker of Truth, who carries the Sword of Truth, and Kaylin, who is a Confessor, the Mother Confessor to be exact. Now, what does that mean? Since most people don't fucking know, the Sword of Truth is a sword that's imbued with magical powers. Now, it helps Richard be the Seeker of Truth. Hi, Nicole. It helps Richard be the Seeker of Truth. Now, what he does is he basically travels the world, solves life's riddles. He basically solves everybody else's fuck-ups, and occasionally solves his own fuck-ups, too. Actually, most of them are his fuck-ups. Like, pretty much all except for the first one is his fuck-up. Anyways, when we first meet Richard, he is a woods guide in Westland, which is a land without magic. I have dibs, woman. By like a year, I have dibs. Anyways, so it's basically one land separated up into three lands. You have Dahara, which is basically the Empire, the Midlands, which is a loose collection of kingdoms ruled by the Central Council. Halo, you keep that up, and I'm not going to let her come visit you. And then Westland, which is a land without magic. So when we first meet Richard, he is a woods guide who grew up in Westland. He's never been around magic. He knows nothing about magic. He knows nothing about the Midlands or Dahara. All of a sudden, he meets this girl. Beautiful woman. Her name is Kaylin. She gets him into a lot of crap. basically, she shows up and she says, I need your help finding the great wizard who took off and made us all forget who the hell he is. And he's like, okay, I'll help you. So they run off, and he's like, well, I don't really know where to start looking, but I got this friend. His name's Zed. We're going to go check him out, see if he knows anything. So they go to talk to Zed. When they get there, Richard realizes that Zed is the great wizard and calls him out on it. Well, in calling him out on it, he decides to name Richard the Seeker of Truth. Kaylin doesn't want him to name Richard the Seeker of Truth because she kind of likes him, but if he's the Seeker, then she's going to have to tell him who she actually is.
Now I gotta figure out what I want to do for the rest of it.
I'm gonna turn off
He goes in and names him Seeker anyways. Well, then they run off and they try and stop Darken Rahl, the leader of the evil empire of Dahara, from gaining a magic called the Magic of Orden, which is contained within 3 boxes of Orden. Now, there's a couple different ways to kill him. They can have him open the wrong box, which will kill him. They can keep him from having a box, which means he can't open one of them, and that would kill him. And those are pretty much their only 2 options. Well, Richard decides to go with option A, talks him into opening up the wrong box, which kills him, and that ends the first book. However, at the end of the first book, you find out that Richard is actually the son of Darken Rahl, and therefore the new master of Dahara. Richard finds this out in the second book, but doesn't find it out in the first because, well, Terry Goodkind's a dick.
Yeah, and he's reading the chapters.
Yeah, I think I've got 5 up on YouTube right now.
Yep, 5 chapters up on YouTube, is what he says.
Anyways, so in the second book,
And then,
we pick up with Richard and Kaylin. It turns out him having Darken Rahl open the wrong box wasn't the right thing to do. Because opening the wrong box basically tore the veil. Tore the veil to the underworld, and now the entire world is being threatened to be torn apart. So now he has to fix that shit because he fucked up. But in the effort of trying to fix that shit that he fucked up, he ends up bringing Darken Rahl back from the dead. And Darken Rahl's like, well, I'm going to tear the veil the rest of the way. Thank you, Nicole. And he's like, well, no, you're not. I'm going to stop you. But before you can try and do that, the Sisters of Light show up and they're like, hey, you have the gift. He's like, I don't have the gift. They're like, yes, you do have the gift. We're going to teach you how to use the gift so you can be a wizard. I don't want to be a wizard. Well, if we don't teach you how to use the gift, you're going to die. So Kaylin makes him take this collar called a Radahan and go with the Sisters of Light so he can learn how to be a wizard. And that's basically where we left off. Is Richard is left with the sisters to go learn how to use the gift and be a wizard. Kaylin has run off to try and find Zed to see how she can fix it. And that's basically where we left Richard and Kaylin. Now, this chapter does not pick up with Richard or Kaylin. It picks up with one of the Sisters of the Light where Richard is going. Now, one of the things that we've learned is there are Sisters of the Light and Sisters of the Dark. The Sisters of the Dark are evil and basically just want to kill him or turn him, one of the two. Either way, they want to help tear the veil to the underworld and let the Keeper loose, which is going to kill everybody in the world. And, well, that's not exactly the way we want that story to end. So that's where we pick up is one of the sisters stumbles across this evil plot.
Did he get the one that he wanted?
And and is going to try and find out more. I usually do get distracted by comments, and now I have 2 comment streams to get distracted by.
He really can hear you from the other room, can't he?
Yeah, they can hear her too.
Oh, they can't. Maybe I should turn it down. Okay, now try it.
Can you guys still hear Halo? Anybody? Anybody? Bueller? 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 So Sapphire Wolf can still hear her. I think the only way they're not going to hear her is if we close the door.
But then I can't hear story time.
You can hear me through the wall better than they can hear you through the wall.
Okay.
But you're going to have to close the door.
Well, she actually is going to go hop in the shower, so it's okay. Leave the door open.
Okay.
I'll send you pictures after it's done. Bye. Enjoy your shower.
Okay, so that is the recap on Stone of Tears and Wizard's First Rule. So,
Hey,
a little
baby,
bit, right, Nicole? Yes, dear.
Would you like to see it?
Sure. You're going to have to hold it out. Ooh, I like that. You want to come show it off?
Here in a minute. I want to do a couple more details on it.
Okay. Okay, we're going to pick up with chapter 20. The sound of her heart pounded in her ears. Struggling to control her panicked breathing, she ducked behind the fat trunk of an old pine, pressing up against the rough bark. The sisters had discovered she was following them. The dark, damp air filled her lungs in ragged pools. Her lips moved soundlessly with prayers to the Creator, beseeching protection. With eyes as big as gold pieces, she stared into the darkness and swallowed, trying to wet her throat. The dark form glided silently closer. She could see it as she peeked out past the edge of a tree. She suppressed the urge to scream, to run, and prepared herself to fight. She reached for the sweet light. She embraced her Han. The shadow slipped closer, hesitating, searching. One more step. Just one more. Thank you for what? You're fine, Halo. Don't apologize. One more step. Just one more, and she would spring. She would have to do it right. Make sure there was no chance to raise an alarm. It had to be fast, and it would take different kinds of webs, all thrown at once. But if she could be precise and quick, there would be no chance of a scream, no alarm, and she would know for sure who it was. She held her breath. The dark shape finally took another step. Spinning out from behind the tree, she threw the webs. Cords of air, strong as dockline, whipped around the form. As the mouth came open, she jammed a solid knot of air into it, gagging it, before it had a chance to cry out. She slumped a little with relief when no sound came forth, but her heart still raced nearly out of control as she gasped for air. With an effort, she managed to bring calm back to her mind, although she maintained a firm grip on her Han, fearful to let her caution slip. There could be others about. She took a deep breath and stepped closer to the immobilized shape. When she was close enough to feel its breath on her face, she extended her palm up and in its center released a thread of fire to light a tiny flame just enough to see the face. No problem, Elizabeth. Or Little Bear, sorry. Jedediah, she whispered. She pressed her hand to the back of his neck, her fingers feeling the smooth, cool metal of the Radahan, and leaned her forehead against his as she closed her eyes. Tears ran down her cheeks. Oh, Jedediah, you gave me such a fright. She opened her eyes and looked up at his terrified face, lit by the tiny, flickering flame. I will release you, she whispered softly. But you must be very quiet, promise? He nodded as best he could, considering how tightly she had him bound. She slipped off the webs, pulling out the gag of air. Jedediah sagged with relief. Wow, she into some kinky shit. Sister Margaret, he whispered in a shaky voice, you very nearly made me soil myself. Babe, remember Sister Margaret?
Yeah.
You're not going to like this part. Okay, guys, both sides, all right? This is going to get a little hairy. This is actually going to be very, very graphic
Then
on
why don't you skip it?
quite a few things. No, it's not really graphic as in killing anybody. And one of the sisters is going to take the male Han into herself. And we're going to see exactly how a Sister of the Light would take the male Han of a wizard and join the Keeper's side. And then the camera for YouTube is right there. And it's a little tricky. So this is really not for littles in any shape or form. If you are small right now, turn back. She laughed soundlessly. I'm sorry, Jedediah. But you very nearly did the same to me. She snipped the thin thread of Han, fueling the small flame, and they both sank to the ground, leaning against one another, recovering from the fright. Jedediah, several years younger, was bigger than she, a handsome young man, painfully handsome, she thought. She had been assigned to him when he had first come to the palace, and she had been a novice. He had been eager to learn, and had studied hard. He had been a pleasure from the first day. She knew others had been difficult, but not Jedediah. He had done everything she had asked of him. She had only to ask, and he threw himself into it. Yes, Wolf and Raven, but since we're on YouTube, we have 7 viewers there, and 1 viewer on Instagram. I think we're good. Others thought he was more eager to please her than to please himself in what he did, but none could deny that he was a better student than any other, and was becoming a better wizard, and that was all that mattered. This was one area where the results were what counted, not the method, and she had quickly earned her full sisterhood for the way she had brought him along. Oh, I got 20% left on that one. Jesus. Hold on, let me plug my phone in, because it's going to die, and we don't want it to die.
That would be a good idea.
Yep, there we go. Jedediah had been more proud of her than she had been of herself when she had been named a Sister of the Light. She was proud of him, too. He was probably the most powerful wizard the palace had seen in 1,000 years. Margaret, he whispered, what are you doing out here? Sister Margaret, she corrected. No one is around, he kissed her ear. Stop that, she scolded. The tingle from the kiss ran all the way down her spine. He had added a wisp of magic to the kiss. Sometimes she wished she hadn't taught him that, but other times she ached to have him do it. Jedediah, what are you doing here? You have no business following me, following a sister out of the palace. You're up to something. I know you are. And don't you try to tell me you're not. Something dangerous. At first I was only a little concerned, but when I realized you were heading out into the Hagen woods, I became frightened for you. I'm not going to let you go wandering into a dangerous place like this. Not by yourself, anyway. Not without going along to protect you. Protect me, she whispered harshly. Might I remind you of what just happened? You were helpless in a heartbeat. You weren't able to fight off even a single one of my webs. You weren't able to break one of them. You were hardly able to touch your Han, much less use it effectively. You have a lot to learn before you are a wizard enough to go around protecting anyone. It's all you can do at this point to keep from stepping on your own feet. The rebuke silenced him. She didn't like to reprimand him so harshly, but this was far too dangerous for him to be involved in. If what she suspected was true, she feared for him and didn't want him hurt. The things she had said weren't entirely true either. He was already more powerful than any sister. When he could bring everything together properly, even though that wasn't often. Already, there were sisters who were afraid to push him too far. She could feel him look away. "I'm sorry, Margaret," he whispered. "I was afraid for you." Her heart ached at the hurt in his voice. She kept her head close to his so they could speak in soft whispers. "I know you are, Jedediah, and I appreciate your concern. I really do. But this is sister business. Margaret, the Hagen Woods are a dangerous place. There are things in here that could kill you. I don't want you in here." The Hagen Woods were indeed dangerous. They had been for thousands of years, and had been left that way by decree of the palace, as if they could do anything about it. It was said the Hagen Woods were a training ground for a very special kind of wizard. That kind of wizard was not sent there, but went in by choice because he wanted to, craved to, needed to. But that was only what was said. She knew of no wizard going off to spend time in the Hagen Woods, at least not for the last few thousand years. If it was true any ever did. The tale said that in ancient times there were wizards of that kind with that much power, and that they went into the Hagen Woods. Few ever came out, it was also said. But there were rules even to this place. The sun didn't set while I was here. I came after dark. If you don't let the sun set on you in the Hagen Woods, you can leave. And I don't intend to stay long enough for the next sun to set on me. It's safe enough. For me, anyway. I want you to go home right now. What's so important? What's so important that you would go in here? What are you doing? I expect an answer, Margaret. A truthful answer. I won't be put off. There is danger for you in this, and I won't be put off. She fingered the finely worked gold flower she kept on a chain around her neck. Jedediah had made it for her himself, not with magic, but with his own hands. It was a morning glory, meant to represent his awakened awareness of the gift, an awareness she had helped to blossom. That little gold flower meant more to her than anything else she had. Corey has been in many a story time, Nicole. Hi, Corey. She took up his hand and leaned against him. All right, Jedediah, I will tell you. But I can't tell you all of it. It's too dangerous for you to know everything. What's too dangerous? What can't you tell me? Be quiet and listen, or I will send you back right now, and you know I can do it. His other hand went to the collar. Margaret, you wouldn't do that. Tell me you wouldn't do that. Not since we have been. Hush. He fell silent. She waited a moment to be certain he was going to stay hushed before she went on. We can tell who the Dom is in that relationship. I have suspected for a time that some of the ones with the gift who have gone away or died have not done so as it had been put to us. I think they have been murdered. What? Keep your voice down, she whispered angrily. Do you want to get us killed too? He fell silent once more. I think something awful is going on in the Palace of the Prophets. I think some of the sisters murdered them. He stared at her in the darkness. Murdered? By sisters? Margaret, you must be crazy to even suggest such a thing. Well, I'm not. But everyone would think I was if I were to say such a thing aloud inside the palace walls. I have to figure out a way to prove it. He thought a moment. Well, I know you better than anyone. If you say it's true, then I believe you. I'll help. Maybe we could dig up the bodies, find something to go against what was said about their deaths, find somebody who saw something, who could carefully question the staff. There are ones I know of. Jedediah, that's not the worst of it. What could be worse? She held the gold flower in the crook of a finger and rubbed her thumb against it. Her voice came even lower than before. There are sisters of the dark in the palace. Even without being able to see him in the darkness, she knew bumps were running up his arms. The night bugs chirped around them as she watched the dark shape of his face. Margaret, sisters of the... That can't be. There's no such thing. That is only a myth, a fable. It is no myth. There are sisters of the dark in the palace. Margaret, please don't keep saying that. You could be put to death for making an accusation like that. If you accuse a sister of that and can't prove it, you would be put to death. And you can't prove it because it isn't possible. There is no such thing as a sister of the... He couldn't even say the words. The thought of it frightened him. So much he couldn't even say it out loud. She knew his fear. She had felt it herself until she had happened on things she could no longer ignore. She wished she hadn't gone to see the prophet that night, or at least not listened to him. The prelate had been angry that Margaret wouldn't give the prophet's message to one of her aides. When she had finally granted an audience, the prelate had only stared blankly at her and asked what the pebble in the pond was. Margaret didn't know. The prelate had lectured her sternly for bothering her with Nathan's nonsense. Margaret had been furious at Nathan when he had denied remembering giving any such message for the prelate. I wish it were as you say, but it's not. They're real. They're among us. They're in the palace. She watched the dark shadow of him a moment. That's why I'm out here, to get the proof. How are you going to do that? They're out here. I followed them. They come out into the Hagen Woods to do something. I'm going to find out what. His head turned about, searching the darkness. Who? Which sisters? Do you know which ones? I know. Some of them, anyway. Which ones are they? Jedediah, I can't tell you. If you knew and you made even the slightest mistake, you would not be able to defend yourself. If I'm right and they really are the sisters of the dark, they would kill you for knowing. I can't bear the thought of you being hurt. I won't tell you until I go to the prelate's office with the proof. How do you know they are sisters of the... And what proof have you? What proof could you get? She searched the darkness for any sign of danger. One of the sisters has something, a thing of magic, a thing of dark magic. I saw it in her office. It's a little statue. I noticed it one time because she has a number of things, old things. Everyone thinks they're just ancient curiosities. I had seen it before, and like all the rest of the things, it was covered with dust. But this one time, after one of the boys died, I went to her office to talk to her about it, about her report. That little statue was tucked back in a corner with a book leaning against it, hiding it. And it wasn't covered with dust. It was clean. That's it? The sister dusted a statue? And you think... No. No one knows what that statue is. After I saw she had dusted it, I had reason to question what it was. I had to be careful, not let anyone know what I was up to. But I finally found out what it is. How? How did you find out? She remembered her visit to Nathan and her vow never to reveal how she had learned what the statue was. Never you mind. That is not for you to know. Margaret, how could you? She cut him off. I said I'm not telling you, and it isn't important anyways. What is important is what the statue is, not how I found out about it. It is a man holding up a crystal. The crystal is Quillian. What is Quillian? It's an exceedingly rare magical crystal. It has the power to bleed the magic from a wizard. The surprise of that left him speechless for a moment. How do you know it's Quillian if it's so rare? How would you be able to recognize it? Maybe there's just some other crystal that looks similar. That might be true if it hadn't been used. When Quillian is used to bleed the magic from a wizard, it glows orange with the power of his gift, his Han. For just a brief second, as I left her office, I saw that statue, all clean, hiding behind that book. The Quillian was glowing orange. But that was before I knew what it was. After I found out... I went back to take it to the prelate as proof, but it no longer was glowing. What could that mean? He whispered in a fearful voice. It means that the wizard's power had passed out of the crystal into somebody, a host. Quillian is just a vessel for the gift until it can be placed into someone else. Jedediah, I think the sisters are killing those with the gift and stealing it for themselves. I think they are absorbing the power into themselves. His voice trembled. On top of what they already are, they now have the power of a wizard's gift? She nodded. Yes. That makes them more dangerous than we could even believe, more powerful than we can imagine. That's what scares me the most, not being put to death for making the accusation, but being found out by these sisters. They really are taking the power into themselves. I don't know how we can stop them. None of us can match them. I need proof so the prelate will believe me. Maybe she will know what to do. I certainly don't. What I can't understand is how the sisters are absorbing the gift from the Quillian. The gift of a wizard, his Han, is male. The sisters are female. A female can't just absorb the male Han. It's not that simple. Otherwise, they would simply have bled the Han into themselves when they killed him. If they are really taking the Han from the males into themselves, I don't know how they're doing it. So what are you doing out here? She folded her arms against an inner chill, even though the air was warm. Do you remember the other day when Sam Weber and Neville Ranson had completed all the tests and were to have their collars off and leave the palace? He nodded in the dark. Yes, I was really disappointed because Sam had promised to say goodbye, or to come say goodbye and show me he had his Radahana off. I wanted to wish him well after he was a true wizard. He never came. They told me he left in the night because he didn't want any tearful goodbyes. But Sam was my friend. He was a gentle person, a healer. And it just wasn't like him to leave in that fashion without telling me goodbye. It just wasn't. I was hurt he didn't come by. I really wanted to wish him well. They killed him. We are on Stone of Tears by Terry Goodkind, chapter 20. Page, I have no clue. What? He sagged down a little. Oh, dear Creator, no. His voice broke with tears. Are you sure? How do you know? She put a comforting hand on his shoulder. The day after he supposedly left in such a strange manner, I suspected something terrible had happened. I went to see if the Quillian was glowing again, but the door was shielded. That doesn't prove anything. Sisters shield their rooms or offices sometimes. You do it yourself when you don't want to be disturbed, like when we are together. I know, but I wanted to see the Quillian, so I waited around a corner until a sister came to her office. I came out from where I waited, timing it so that as I walked past, she would be entering. As I went by, and just before she closed the door behind herself, I saw into her dark office. I saw the statue on the shelf behind the book. It was glowing orange. I'm sorry, Jedediah. His voice lowered with anger. Who was it? Which sister? I'm not going to tell you, Jedediah. Not until I can take proof to the prelate. It's too dangerous. He thought a moment. If this crystal really is Quillian, and it would prove what she is, why wouldn't she hide it better? Maybe because she doesn't think there was a chance of anyone knowing what it was. Maybe because she isn't afraid and doesn't take the time to be any more careful than she thinks necessary. Then let's go back, break the shield, get the cursed thing, and take it to the prelate. I can break the shield, I know I can. I was going to do that myself. I went back to do it tonight, but the room wasn't shielded anymore. I snuck in to take the statue, but it was gone. That was when I saw her leaving the palace, and I saw others leaving too. I followed them out here. If I can steal the Quillian while it's glowing, I can prove they are sisters of the dark. I have to stop them before they can suck the life out of anyone else, Jedediah. They're murdering people, but worse, I fear the reason they are doing it. He let out a soft sigh. All right, but I'm going with you. She gritted her teeth. No, you are going back. Margaret, I love you. And if you send me back to worry all alone, I will never forgive you. I'll go to the prelate myself and make the accusation to bring you help. Though I may be put to death for making the accusation, I know it would raise suspicions and may be an alarm. That's the only other way I'll be able to protect you. Either I go with you or I go to the prelate. I promise you I will. She knew he was telling the truth. Jedediah always kept his promises. Powerful wizards always did. Rising to her knees, she leaned over and put her arms around his neck. I love you too, Jedediah. She kissed him deeply as he rose up on his knees to meet her. His hands went under the back of her dress as he gripped her bottom, pulling her against him. The feeling of his hands on her flesh made her moan softly. His hot lips kissed her neck and then her ear, sending shimmers of magic tingling through her. His knee forced her legs apart, giving his hands access to her. She gasped at the contact. Come away with me now, he whispered in her ear. Let's go back, and you can shield your room, and I'll give you more until you scream. You can scream all you want, and no one will hear you. Yeah, Nicole, don't go that far. She pushed away from him and pulled his hands out from under her dress. He was breaking down her resistance. She found she had to force herself to stop him. He was using magic to seduce her away from the danger, trying to save her by drawing her away. She knew that if she let it go on for another second, it would work. Jedediah, she panted in a hoarse whisper. Please don't make me have to use the collar to stop you. This is too important. Lives are at stake. He tried to reach out to her once more, but she sent a cord of power through her hands on his wrist to stop him. She firmly held his hands away. I know, Margaret, your life is one of them. I don't want anything to harm you. I love you more than anything in the world. Just listen, Nicole. Jedediah, this is more important than my life. This is about the lives of everyone. I think this is about the nameless one. He froze stiff. You can't be serious. Why do you think these sisters want this power? What do they need with it? Why would they be willing to kill for it? To what end? Who do you think the Sisters of the Dark serve? Dear Creator, he whispered slowly, don't let her be right. His hands came up and held her by her shoulders. Margaret, who else knows these things? Who have you told? Only you, Jedediah. I know who 4, maybe 5 of the Sisters of the Dark are. But there are others, and I don't know who they are. I don't know who I can trust. There were 11 I followed out here tonight, but there could easily be more. What about the prelate? Maybe you shouldn't go to her. She could be with them. She shook her head with a sigh. You may be right. But it's the only chance we have. There is no one else I can think of who can help me. I have to go to her. She touched her fingertips to his face. Jedediah, please go back. If anything were to happen to me, then you would be able to do something. There would be someone who knew. No, I won't leave you. If you make me go back, I will tell the prelate. I love you. I would rather die than live without you. But there are others to think of, other lives at stake. I don't care about anyone else. Please, Margaret, don't ask me to leave you to this danger. Sometimes you can be infuriating, my love. She took his hands up in hers. Jedediah, if we are caught, if we are together, then I accept the risk. She twined her fingers through his. Then be my husband. As we have talked about, if I die tonight, I want it to be as your wife. He put a hand behind her head and drew her against him, pulling her hair away from her ear as he whispered softly into it. That would make me the happiest man in the world. I love you so much. Oh, just wait, Amara. Or Sapphire Wolf. Just wait. I love you so much, Margaret. But how can we be married here, now? We can say the words. Our love is all that counts. Not some other person saying words for us. Words coming from our hearts will bond us better than anyone else could do. He squeezed her tight. This is the happiest moment of my life. He pulled back, taking up her hands again. In the darkness, they looked at each other. I, Jedediah, pledge to be your husband in life and in death. I offer you my life, my love, and my eternal devotion. May we be bonded in the Creator's eyes and heart and in our own. She whispered the words back to him as tears streamed down her cheeks. She had never been so afraid and so happy in all her life. She shook with the need of him. When they finished the words, they kissed. It was the most tender, loving kiss he had ever given her. Tears continued to run down her face as she pressed against him, against his lips. Her hands clutched the back of his broad shoulders, holding him to her. His arms around her made her feel safer and more loved than she had ever felt. At last, they parted. Let's see.
That's a wonderful pause. What's going on?
One of my monitors just shut off,
Well, that's not good.
but luckily the live is going well. Oh, I know why it just shut off.
Why?
The Xbox.
What
Right.
about the Xbox?
The Xbox shut off. And when it shuts off, it's set to turn off a Vizio TV.
Yep.
And that's what my other monitor is.
Yep. That'll do it.
Why did we have to drape this over the back of the chair? Ugh,
I don't know what you're talking about.
the blanket.
I didn't do that.
You did it
When did I do that?
when you were cleaning up the garage. And I asked you not to because I'm going to sit in it, forget
Sorry
about it.
for cleaning up the garage.
Okay, I didn't.
You know you love me.
And Margaret thinks Jedediah is infuriating.
You know you love me.
I do love you, but still.
Oh, he loves you too.
Okay. She struggled to catch her breath. I love you, my husband. I love you, my wife, always and forever. She smiled. Even though she couldn't see it in the dark, she knew he was smiling too. Let's go see if we can get some proof. Let's see if we can put a stop to the Sisters of the Dark. Let's make the Creator proud of the Sisters of Light and a wizard to be. He squeezed her hand. Promise me you won't do anything foolish? Promise me you won't try to do anything that might get you killed? I want to spend some time with you in bed, not the woods. I need to see what they are up to. See if I can find a way to prove all this to the prelate. But they are more powerful than I am. To say nothing of the fact that there are at least 11 of them. On top of that, if they truly are Sisters of the Dark, they have the use of subtractive magic. We have no defense against that. I don't know how we are to get the Quillian away from them. Maybe we will see something else that will help us. Guys, it looks like the Instagram Live is going to end in 1 minute and 45 seconds. So if you want to hear the rest of this, please switch over to YouTube. So if you go to my TikTok account, click on the Instagram button, click on YouTube, click subscribe, and it will probably show you that I'm live. Actually, it'll probably show you that I'm live before you subscribe. Let's see. I don't know how we are going to get the Quillian away from them. Maybe we will see something else that will help us. If we just keep our eyes open and let the Creator guide us, maybe he will reveal what it is we can do. But I don't want either of us taking any more of a chance than we have to. We must not be discovered. Oh, crap, I said all of that in the wrong voice. I don't know how we are to get the Quillian away from them. Maybe we will see something else that will help us. If we just keep our eyes open and let the Creator guide us. Oh, okay, give me a second. I'm going to drop the Instagram Live and restart it.
Hey, baby.
What? Ooh, I like it. Okay, guys, I'm going to wait for the people to rejoin the Instagram live because I don't want them to miss anything. Can you see what? Oh, the box? She will show you the box when we're done with the live, okay? Okay, Nicole is back.
Well, it's not completely done. I'm still gonna do more details and stuff to it. I just have it put together because I wanted to see.
Oh, no, the box isn't spicy. The box is actually pretty fucking awesome, but you know. Okay, so Nicole's back. Nicole, there are no boxes here. Yeah, no. If you're talking about that box, she is decorating a box that my mother gave her because you know she's amazing. Okay, so now that you're back, let's see here. I don't know how we are to get the Quillian away from them. Maybe we will see something else that will help us. If we just keep our eyes open and let the Creator guide us, maybe He will reveal what it is we can do. But I don't want either of us taking any more of a chance than we have to. We must not be discovered. Nice little Bearsar. He nodded. Good. That's the way I want it too. But Jedediah, I am a sister of the light. That means I have responsibilities. Responsibilities to the Creator and all His children. Though we are now husband and wife, it is still my job to guide you. In this, we are not equals. I am in charge, and I will only allow you to go with me if you promise to abide by that. You are not yet a full wizard. If I tell you something, you must obey. I am still better with my Han than you are with yours. I know, Margaret. One reason I wanted to be your husband is because I respect you. I wouldn't want a weak wife. You have always guided me, and that will not change now. You've given me everything I have. I will follow you always. With a smile, she shook her head. You are a marvel, my husband. A marvel of the best kind. You will make a remarkable wizard. Truly remarkable. I've never told you because I always feared you would let that knowledge go swell your head. But some of the sisters say that they think you may prove to be the most powerful wizard in 1,000 years. He didn't speak, and she couldn't see his face, but she was sure he was blushing. Margaret, your eyes are the only ones I need to see filled with pride. She kissed his cheek and then took his hand. Let's go see how we can put a stop to this. How do you know where they went? How can we follow them? It's dark as pitch in these woods. The trees hide the moon. If it has to do with the book, just wait. She pinched his cheek. A trick my mother taught me. I've never shown it to anyone. When I saw them leaving the palace, I cast a pool of my Han at their feet. They stepped through it. It leaves tracks of my own Han. Only I can see them. Their footprints are as bright as the sun on a pond to me, but to no other. You must teach me this trick. Someday, I promise. Come on. She led him by the hand as she followed the glow of the sisters' footprints through the dense woods. Distant night birds called in haunting voices. Owls hooted and other creatures made low screams and clicks. The ground was uneven, tangled with roots and brush, but the glowing footprints helped her to see the way. The damp heat made her sweat, causing her dress to cling to her wet skin. When she got home, she would shield her room and she would have a bath. a long bath with Jedediah. Then she would let him use his magic on her, and she would use hers on him. They went deeper into the Hagen woods, deeper than she had ever gone before. Vapor drifting from boggy areas carried the pervasive stench of rotting vegetation. They passed through the dark gullies, veiled with hanging roots and moss that brushed against her face and arms, making her flinch at the unexpected contact. The footprints led up and over sparsely wooded rocky ridges. At the top of one, standing in the still, damp air, she looked back, out across the somber landscape. In the far distance, she could see the flickering lights of Tanamura, and set among the lights, rising up in the silvery moonlight, the palace of the prophets, its dark shape blocking out the lights of the city beyond. Good, Bailey.
How many more pages you got, baby?
I do not know. She longed to be
Oh, it
back
doesn't
there,
tell you?
to be home. Huh?
It doesn't tell you.
No, not in here. She longed to be back there, to be home. But this was something that had to be done. There was no one else to do it. The lives of everyone else depended on her. The Creator was depending on her. Still, she longed to be home and safe, but home was no longer safe. It was as dangerous as the Hagen woods, if there really were Sisters of the Dark. Even with as much as she knew, it was difficult for her to accept the idea. The prelate had to believe her. She just had to. There was no one else she could turn to for help. She wished there were even just one sister she could trust, confide in, but she didn't dare trust anyone. Nathan had warned her not to trust anyone. Even though she wished Jedediah were home and safe, she was glad to have him with her. She knew there was nothing he could do to help, but it still felt good to have him to confide in. Her husband. She smiled at that thought. She would never forgive herself if anything happened to him. She would protect him with her life if she had to. The ground pitched into a descent. Through gaps in the trees, she could see they were going down into a deep bowl in the earth. The edge was steep, and they had to move slowly so as not to send any rocks tumbling through the woods. One started to slide as her foot touched it, and she quickly used a handful of air to stop it, and then push it firmly into the ground. She sighed in relief. Jedediah followed her, a silent, comforting shadow. Her tension relaxed a little when they passed from the loose rock back into denser woods where the ground was mossy and silent to step on. The faint sound of chanting drifted to them through the thick woods, carried on heavy, fetid air, low, rhythmic, guttural tones of words she couldn't understand resonated in her chest. Even without understanding the words, she felt revulsion at them, as if they made the air reek. Jedediah gripped her upper arm, dragging her to a halt. He put his mouth close to her ear. "Margaret, please," he whispered. "Let's go back now before it's too late. I'm afraid." "Jedediah," she growled as she reached up and snatched him by the collar. "This is important. I am a Sister of the Light. You're a wizard. What do you think I've been training you for? To stand on a street down in the market and perform tricks? To have people throw coins at you? We serve the Creator. He has given us everything we have so we may use it to help others. Others are in danger. We must help. You are a wizard. Act like one." She could just see his wide eyes in the faint light. He sagged slightly as the tension went out of his muscles. "I'm sorry, you're right. Forgive me. I will do what I must, I promise." Her anger cooled. "I'm afraid too. Touch your Han. Keep a firm grip on it, but not too tight. Hold it so you can release it in an instant, as I've taught you. If anything happens, don't hold back. Don't be afraid of how much you might hurt them. If you need your power, anything less than all of it will not be enough. If you keep your head, you're strong enough to defend yourself. You can do it, Jedediah. Have faith in what I've taught you, what all the sisters have taught you. Have faith in the Creator and what He has given you. You have it for a reason. We all do. This may be the reason. Tonight may be what you've been called for." He nodded again, and she turned back to the glowing footprints, following them into the thick forest. They wandered through the trees toward the center of the bowl, toward where the chanting was coming from. The closer they got, the more the voices made her skin prickle. The voices were sisters. She thought she recognized some of them. Dear Creator, she prayed, give me the strength to do what I must to help you. Give Jedediah strength too. Help us serve you to help others. All kinds of good things come from going into the dark woods. Little flickers of light came through the leaves. They crept closer. The trees around her were huge. The two of them glided from one trunk to another, no longer following the footprints. They could see glimpses now of something through openings in the underbrush. Slowly, they tiptoed forward across the open forest floor beneath large, spreading spruce trees. The needles were soft and quiet to walk on. Shoulder to shoulder, they slid behind low, heavy brush at the edge of the woods. It was as close as they could go. Beyond lay a flat, round, open area. At least 100 candles were set on the ground in a ring, like a fence or boundary, as if holding back the dark forest. Inside the candles was a circle drawn on the ground. It looked to be made of white sand that sparkled with little points of prismatic light. It looked like the descriptions of sorcerer's sand she had heard, although she had never actually seen any. It stood out clearly in the candlelight. In the light of the moon overhead, symbols were drawn with the same white sand. They were inside the circle, points of them touching the outer boundary of the circle at irregular intervals. Margaret had never seen the symbols before, but she knew some of the elements of them from an old book. They spoke to the underworld. About halfway in from the outer white line and candles, 11 sisters sat in a circle. Margaret stared harder, trying to see in the dim, flickering light. It looked as if each had a hood over her head. With holes cut for the eyes, they chanted in unison. Shadows from the sisters extended inward to a point in the center. In the center lay a woman, naked except for a hood like the others. She lay on her back, her hands crossed over her breasts, her legs pressed together. 12. With the one in the center, that made 12. She searched the circle of sisters again. Even with the candles, it was still dark, and the candles were to the sisters' backs. Her eyes stopped on a form on the opposite side of the circle. Her breath caught in her throat. That form was larger than the rest. It was hunched, its head lowered, and without a hood. It sat at a convergence of lines in the symbols. It was not a sister. With a start, she saw the faint orange glow. The statue with the Quillian was resting in its lap. She and Jedediah crouched, frozen, watching the circle of sisters as they chanted. After a time, one of them to the side of the hunched form stood. The chanting stopped. She spoke short, sharp words in a language Margaret didn't know. At points in the speech, her hand shot into the air, flinging sparkling dust over the naked woman in the center. The dust ignited, bathing the hooded sisters with brief, harsh light. At the flash, they all answered with odd, rhyming words. She and Jedediah exchanged looks. Her own confused, frightened feelings reflected in his eyes. The standing sister flung both hands up, calling out a list of strange words. She went to the naked woman, stood at her head, and threw up her arms again. The sparkling dust caught fire once more. This time, the orange glow from the Quillian brightened. The head of the hunched form slowly rose. Margaret made a silent gasp when she saw the face of a beast. Its fanged mouth opened with a low growl. The sister drew a delicately wrought silver scepter from her cloak and gave it sharp shakes as she chanted again, sprinkling water over the prone woman. Something was happening to the Quillian. It brightened and then dimmed. The dark eyes of the beast watched the naked woman. Margaret stared, wide-eyed. Her heart pounded so hard it felt as if it would tear a hole in her chest. As the Quillian faded, the beast's eyes began to glow orange, the same color orange as the Quillian. As the quillion dimmed, the glow in the beast's eyes intensified until the little statue was dark and the thing's eyes shined. Two more sisters stood. They moved to each side of the first. The first knelt, her hooded head lowered, looking down to the naked woman. It is time, if you are sure. You know what must be done. The same as has been done to us. You are the last to be offered the gift. Do you wish to accept it? Hey, Stoner Brat. Yes, I am entitled. It's mine. I want it. Margaret thought she knew both voices, but she wasn't sure because the hoods muddled their words. Then it shall be yours, sister. The other two knelt beside her as she pulled a cloth from her cloak, twisting it beneath her fists. You must pass this test of pain to gain the gift. We cannot touch you with our magic while it is being done, but we will help you as best we can. I will do anything. It's mine. Let it be done. The naked woman spread her arms. The sisters to each side leaned with all their weight on her wrists. The sister at her head held the twisted cloth over the hooded face. Open your mouth and bite down on this. She put the cloth between the woman's teeth. Now open your legs. You must keep them open. If you try to close them, it will be a rejection of what you are being offered, and you will lose the chance forever. The naked woman stared fixedly up at nothing. She panted with fear, her breast heaving. Slowly, she spread her legs. The beast stirred, giving a low grunt. Margaret gripped Jedediah's forearm, her fingers digging into him. The beast sniffed the air. As it slowly unfolded itself, Margaret saw that it was larger than it had looked when it was all hunched over. It was powerfully built, looking mostly like a man. Flickers of candlelight reflected off sweat-slicked, knotted muscles of its arms and chest. Downy hair started at the narrow hips, growing coarser farther down the legs to the ankles, where it was the longest, thickest. But the head was something other than a man. It was a horror of anger and fangs. A long, thin tongue flicked out, tasting the air. The eyes glowed orange in the dim light. Orange with the power of the gift it had absorbed from the quillion. As it stretched out on its hands and knees toward the naked woman, Margaret almost gasped aloud. She recognized the beast. She had seen a drawing of it in an old book. The same book in which she had seen drawings of some parts of the spells before her. She wanted to scream. It was a Namble, one of the Nameless One's minions. Oh, dear Creator, she prayed fervently, please protect us. Growling in a low rumble, its powerful muscles flexing, its haunted eyes glowing orange, the Namble edged like a huge cat toward the woman on the ground, head low. It crawled between her legs. In a state of ragged fear, the woman still stared up at nothing. The Namble sniffed at her crotch, its long tongue flicked out, running over her. She flinched, making a small jerk of a sound against the cloth in her teeth, but she kept her legs open. Her eyes did not move. She did not look at the Namble. The sisters in the circle began a soft chant. The Namble licked her again, slower, grunting this time as it did so. She squealed against the rag. Beads of sweat shimmered on her flesh. She kept her legs wide apart. Rising up on its knees, the beast gave a throaty roar to the black sky. Its pointed, barbed, erect phallus stood out, plainly silhouetted against the candles beyond. Muscles bulged in knotted cords along its arms and shoulders as the Namble bent forward. Putting a fist to each side of the woman, its tongue licked out around her throat as it gave a vibrating rumble of a growl. And then it lowered itself. Hi, Demigoddess. Covering her with its massive form, its hips hunched forward. The woman's eyes winced shut as she screamed against the cloth in her teeth. The Namble gave a quick, powerful thrust, and her eyes snapped open in a panic of pain. Even with the cloth clenched in her teeth, her screams could be heard over the chanting each time the beast knocked the wind from her, adding more force to the shrieks. Margaret had to force herself to take a breath. As she watched, she hated these women. They had given themselves over to something unspeakably evil. Still, they were her sisters, and she could hardly bear to watch one being hurt. She realized she was shaking. She clenched the gold flower at her neck in one fist and Jedediah's arm with the other as tears streamed down her face. The beast thrashed at the sister on the ground as the three sisters held her. Her muffled screams of torment ripped at Margaret's heart. The sister holding the cloth finally spoke. "If you want the gift, you must encourage him to give it to you. He will not surrender it unless you overcome his control, unless you take it from him. You must win it from him. Do you understand?" Night, Halo. Crying, her eyes shut tight, the woman nodded. The sister pulled the cloth away. "Then he is yours now. Take the gift if you will." The other two released her arms, and the three of them returned to their places in the circle. Taking up the chanting with the others, the woman let out a wail that turned Margaret's blood to ice. It made her ears hurt. The woman flung her arms and legs around the Namble, clutching herself to it, moving with the chanting. Her screams died away as she panted with the effort. Yeah, very true, Wolf and Raven. Margaret could watch no longer. She closed her eyes and swallowed back a wail of her own that tried to force itself from her throat, but even with her eyes closed, it was no better. She could still hear it. "Please, dear Creator," she begged in her mind, "let it end. Please let it end." And then, with a husky grunt, it did. Margaret opened her eyes to see the Namble still, its back hunched. It shuddered and then slowly went limp. The woman struggled to breathe under its weight. With strength that seemed impossible, she at last pushed the Namble off of her. Chest heaving, it rolled to its hands and knees and slunk back to its place in the circle. Folding itself into a dark bundle, the chanting had stopped. The woman lay on the ground for a time, panting, recovering. She was covered with a glistening sheen of sweat that reflected the yellow light of the candle flames. Taking one last deep breath, Demigoddess or Stoner Brat, I am on Instagram and YouTube at the same time. Wolf and Raven is on YouTube. There's two different comment streams. Taking one last deep breath, the woman came smoothly to her feet. A dark stain of blood ran down her legs, with a calm awareness that sent a chill up Margaret's spine and caught her breath short. The woman turned to face her, pulling off her hood. The menacing orange glow in her eyes faded as they returned to the pale blue with dark violet flecks that Margaret knew so well. "Sister Margaret," her tone was as mocking as the smile on her thin lips. "Did you enjoy watching? I thought you might." Wide-eyed, Margaret rose slowly to her feet. Across the circle, the sister, who had held the cloth, also rose and pulled off her hood. "Margaret, dear, how nice of you to show such interest in our little group. I didn't know you were that stupid. Did you think I let you see the Quillian in my office by accident? That I wasn't aware someone was interested? I had to know who was skulking about, looking into things that were none of their concern. I let you see it. I wasn't sure, though, until you followed us." Her smile froze Margaret's breathing. "Think we are fools? I saw the pool of Han you cast for us to step in. I obliged you. Such a shame. For you." Margaret's hand was clutched tightly around the gold flower at her neck, her fingernails digging into her palm. How could they have seen the pool of her Han? The answer was tragically simple. She had underestimated them. Underestimated what they could do with the gift. Her mistake was going to cost her her life. But only her. Only her. Please, dear Creator, only her. She could sense Jedediah close at her side. Jedediah, she whispered, run. I'll try to hold them off while you escape. Run, my love, run for your life. His powerful hand came up and gripped her upper arm. I don't think so, my love. Her eyes were captured by his cruelly empty expression. I tried to save you, Margaret. I tried to get you to turn back, but you wouldn't listen. He glanced to the sister across the clearing. If I got her oath, could we just... The sister glared back. He sighed. No, I suppose we couldn't. He gave her a strong shove into the clearing. She came to a stumbling stop at the edge of the candles. She had gone numb. Her mind refused to work. Her voice refused to work. Sapphire Wolf. The sister across the circle clasped her hands together, looking to Jedediah. Has she told anyone else? No, just me. She was looking for proof before she went to anyone else for help. His eyes returned to her. Isn't that right, my love? He shook his head again, the smirk of a smile touching his lips. Lips she had kissed. She felt sick. She felt like the biggest fool the Creator had ever seen. Such a shame. You have done well, Jedediah. You will be rewarded. And as for you, Margaret, well, tomorrow Jedediah will report that after trying to avoid the insistent affections of an older woman, he finally and firmly rejected you for good, and you ran away in shame and humiliation. If they come here and find your bones, it will confirm their fears that you chose to end your life because you felt unworthy to live any longer as a sister of the light. Nicole, I told you not to like him. The dark flecked eyes glided back to Margaret. Let me have her. Let me test my new gift. Let me taste it. Those eyes kept Margaret frozen, her hand still clutching the gold flower at her neck. She could hardly breathe through the numbing agony of knowing Jedediah had betrayed her. She had prayed to the Creator to give Jedediah strength to help others. She had no idea who those others would be. The Creator had answered her prayers, foolish as they had been. When the sister consented, the thin lips widened in a greedy grin. Margaret felt naked, helpless in the penetrating gaze of those flecked eyes. At last, Margaret made her mind work. Her thoughts sprang to a terrified groping for a way of escape. She could only think of one thing to do. Before it was too late, with panic abandoned, she let her Han explode through every fiber of herself and brought forth a shield, the most powerful shield she knew, a shield of air. She made it hard as steel, impenetrable. She poured her hurt and hate into it. The thin smile never left. The flecked eyes didn't move. Air, is it then? With the gift I can see it now. Shall I show you what I can do with the air? With air? With the gift, what the gift can do with it? The Creator's power will protect me, Margaret managed. The thin smile turned to a sneer. You think so? Let me show you the Creator's impotence. Her hand came up. Margaret expected a ball of wizard's fire. It wasn't. It was a ball of air so dense she could see it coming. It was so dense it distorted what was seen through it. Margaret could hear the whoosh of its approach, the wail of its power. It went through her shield like flaming pitch through paper. It shouldn't have been able to do that. Her shield was air. Air should not have been able to break a shield of air. Not a shield as strong as she had made. But this was air made not by a mere sister, but one with the gift. A wizard's gift. I told you, little bear. Confused, Margaret realized she was lying on the ground, looking up at the stars, pretty stars, the Creator's stars. She couldn't draw a breath, simply couldn't. She thought it odd. She didn't remember the air hitting her, only her breath being ripped violently from her lungs. She felt odd, There was something warm against her face, warm and wet. It was a comfort. Her legs didn't seem to work. Try as she might, she couldn't make them move. With the greatest of efforts, she managed to lift her head a bit. The sisters hadn't moved, but now somehow they were further away. They all watched her. Margaret looked down at herself. Something was terribly wrong. Below her ribs, there was mostly nothing there, just the shredded, wet remains of her insides, and then nothing. Where the rest of her should have been, there was nothing. Where had her legs gone? They must be somewhere. They had to be somewhere. There they were. They lay a little distance away where she had been standing. So, that was why she couldn't take a breath. Air shouldn't have been able to do that. It was impossible. At least air wielded by a sister shouldn't have been able to do that. It was a wonder. Dear Creator, why have you not helped me? I was doing your work. Why have you let this be done? It should hurt, shouldn't it? Shouldn't it hurt to be ripped in half? But it didn't. It didn't hurt the least little bit. Cold. She felt only cold. But the warm rope of her guts lying against her face felt good. Warm. She took comfort in the warmth. Maybe it didn't hurt because the Creator was helping her. That must be it. The Creator had taken her pain. Dear Creator, thank you. I did my best. I'm sorry I failed you. Send another. Boots were near. Jedediah. Husband Jedediah. Monster Jedediah. I tried to warn you, Margaret. I tried to keep you away. You can't say I didn't try. Her arms lay sprawled out to her sides. In her right hand, she could feel the little gold flower. She hadn't let go of it. Even as she was torn in half, she never let go. She tried to now, but she couldn't make her hand open. She wished she had the strength to open her hand. She didn't want to die with that in her hand. But she just couldn't open her fingers. Dear Creator, I have failed in this too. Since she couldn't release it, she did the only thing she could think of. She sent the rest of her power into it. Maybe someone would see and ask the right question. Tired. She was so very tired. She tried to close her eyes, but they wouldn't close. How could a person die if they couldn't close their eyes? There were a lot of stars. Pretty stars. There seemed to be fewer than she remembered. Hardly any at all. She thought her mother had told her once how many there were, but she couldn't remember. Well, she would just have to count them. 1, 2. And that is the end of chapter 21. Or chapter 20. Shit. So yeah, that happened. What everyone think? Babe?
Wow.
Yeah, Terry Goodkind's a particular kind of fucked up, isn't he? Yeah, it really did. To be fair, when you guys started saying that you liked him, I did tell you not to. I'm just going to say that. Well, even if they were married, they did say till death. So, I mean.
Oh my God! Really?
maybe he actually did mean it, and he did want to marry her. You know, that widow arrive is so hot. I'm just an asshole, aren't I? So I'm going to show you guys first. This is the wood burning that she did of the 2 dragons in the box. And then I'm going to show you guys. Honestly, I can see the detail better on the webcam. I really am, Bailey. You have no idea how dark I get. Stoner Brat, that's probably a good thing.
You guys showing the inside?
Oh, and on the inside, she actually did runes that say, I forget. Babe, help me out here.
A Viking, soul of a dragon.
Heart of a Viking, soul of a dragon?
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Because, instead of heart of a chief, soul of a dragon, I did a Viking because, I'm not
Yes.
really a chief.
So yeah, Terry Goodkind's a little fucked up. He's probably more fucked up than Stephen King, and this is probably why I like him as a writer. Because let's face it, Baby Dragon has heard the jokes I don't say on social media. You guys would not be my friends.
No, you would not be.
Okay, guys. So I am going to end this. We're going to hop off. You seriously, guys, you have no idea how dark my jokes get. There are some jokes I don't even tell Baby Dragon because they're too dark for her.
Oh, really now?
Yes. But guys, I'm going to hop off here. I love you guys. I really do. Guys, be safe. Do your research. If you can't be good at it. I can't say my next part because, you guys can't message me on YouTube. But you can message me on Instagram. So message me here if you guys want to talk to me. If you have another place to get a hold of me, then message me there. I can't really give you directions on that. You guys have a nice night, and I will see you guys tomorrow, okay? I'm fairly certain I'm going to be banned from live on TikTok for probably the next 5 days. If I do go live during the day or in the mornings, it's going to be on Instagram because that way I won't get banned. Love you guys. You guys have a nice night. All right. Bye. End that one. Yes. End it. And then we're going to come around to this one and we're going to end this one. You guys get ended last. Bye, people.